weighty matters. Folks, tonight we're diving deep into the fascinating world of DOT weight stations. Those seemingly innocuous roadside fixtures that truckers know all too well. At first glance, they seem simple enough: weigh trucks, ensure they're not overloaded, and keep our roads safe. But as with most things in life, the deeper you dig, the more complicated it gets. This isn't just about trucks and cargo, it's about a system that may have strayed from its original intent. A system where safety concerns might be playing second fiddle to financial incentives. We're talking about the potential exploitation of truck drivers, the blurring of lines between safety and revenue generation, and the far-reaching consequences for our economy and legal system. Buckle up, folks, because this is going to be a bumpy ride. The genesis of DOT weight stations. Let's rewind the clock. Back in the early days of interstate trucking, weight stations emerged as a crucial safety measure. Overloaded trucks posed a serious threat to our roads and bridges, leading to accelerated wear and tear and increased risk of accidents. The solution seemed straightforward: establish checkpoints to monitor truck weights and ensure compliance with safety regulations. These early weight stations were primarily focused on safety. Inspectors checked truck weights, scrutinized cargo securement, and ensured drivers weren't exceeding their allotted driving hours. The emphasis was on preventing accidents and maintaining the integrity of our transportation infrastructure. It was a system designed to protect both truck drivers and the general public. A simpler time, some might say. Safety first, the shift towards revenue. But somewhere along the way, the narrative started to change. Weight stations, once seen as guardians of safety, gradually transformed into revenue-generating machines. Fines for overweight violations skyrocketed, and the focus shifted from preventing accidents to padding state coffers. This shift wasn't sudden or overt. It was a gradual erosion of the original intent, a subtle but significant change in priorities. This financial incentive created a perverse set of priorities. Instead of solely prioritizing safety, weight stations became entangled in the messy world of budgets and bottom lines. The pressure to generate revenue began to influence enforcement practices, potentially leading to a more aggressive approach to ticketing and fines. The question then becomes, are these stations truly about safety, or have they become cash cows for state governments? Quotas and fines, the pressure cooker. This brings us to the controversial issue of quotas. While the existence of explicit quotas for issuing tickets is often denied, numerous reports and insider accounts suggest a culture of pressure to generate revenue. Truck drivers often speak of feeling targeted, subjected to nitpicky inspections and hefty fines for minor infractions. This perceived pressure cooker environment raises serious concerns about fairness and due process. The fines themselves can be crippling for truck drivers, often reaching thousands of dollars for relatively minor violations. For independent truckers and small trucking companies operating on tight margins, these fines can be devastating, forcing them out of business or into precarious financial situations. The system, designed to ensure safety, may be inadvertently pushing some truckers towards financial ruin. Truckers under the thumb. The impact on truck drivers is undeniable. They're caught in a system where the line between safety enforcement and revenue generation is increasingly blurred. Facing the constant threat of hefty fines, many drivers feel pressured to cut corners, push their limits, and engage in risky behavior to meet deadlines and stay afloat. The irony is stark. A system intended to promote safety may be inadvertently incentivizing dangerous practices. Beyond the financial burden, the psychological toll on truck drivers is significant. The constant scrutiny, the fear of being ticketed, the sense of being targeted, it all adds up. Truck drivers are essential to our economy, transporting goods across the country and keeping our supply chains running. Yet they often feel undervalued, misunderstood, and unfairly targeted. The ripples beyond the highway. The implications of this system extend far beyond the highway. The legal and governmental structures surrounding DOT weight stations are complex and often opaque. Challenging a ticket can be a daunting process, fraught with bureaucratic hurdles and legal complexities. Truck drivers, already facing financial strain, often lack the resources to effectively fight these tickets, leaving them feeling powerless and trapped. Moreover, the prioritization of revenue generation raises questions about governmental accountability and transparency. How are these funds being used? Are they truly being reinvested in road safety and infrastructure improvements? Or are they disappearing into the vast black hole of government spending? The lack of clear answers fuels distrust and skepticism towards the system as a whole. A parallel universe: safety checks without the cash grab. Let's take a moment to imagine a parallel universe, a world where safety checks are conducted without the looming specter of fines and revenue generation. Think of airport security checks. Passengers are screened for dangerous items, but they aren't fined for forgetting to remove their belts or carrying a slightly oversized toiletry bag. The focus is on safety, not on squeezing every last dollar out of travelers. Similarly, imagine vehicle inspections. Cars are checked for faulty brakes, worn tires, and malfunctioning lights, but drivers aren't slapped with exorbitant fines for minor infractions. The goal is to ensure vehicles are roadworthy, not to create a revenue stream for the state. This contrast highlights the peculiar nature of DOT wait stations, where safety and revenue seem inextricably intertwined. The DOT's defense: it's about safety. The DOT, of course, maintains that its primary concern is safety. They argue that overweight trucks damage roads, increase the risk of accidents, and endanger both drivers and the public. Fines, they claim, are simply a deterrent, a necessary tool to enforce compliance and ensure everyone's safety. But, well, this argument rings hollow to many truck drivers who feel targeted and exploited. The DOT also points to the significant resources invested in maintaining roads and bridges, arguing that fines contribute to these essential infrastructure projects. However, critics argue that these funds are often diverted to other government programs, leaving road maintenance underfunded and neglected. The debate continues, with both sides presenting compelling arguments and highlighting the complexities of this issue. The voices of dissent experts and whistleblowers. The controversy surrounding DOT wait stations has attracted the attention of experts and whistleblowers who offer a different perspective on the issue. Transportation economists have raised concerns about the economic impact of excessive fines on the trucking industry, arguing that it ultimately leads to higher prices for consumers. Legal experts have questioned the fairness of the ticketing process, highlighting the lack of due process and the difficulty of challenging violations. Perhaps most compelling are the accounts of former DOT inspectors and whistleblowers who have spoken out against the pressure to generate revenue. They describe a system where quotas, whether explicit or implicit, drive enforcement practices, pushing inspectors to prioritize ticketing over safety. These insider accounts provide valuable insights into the inner workings of the system and lend credence to the concerns raised by truck drivers. A system ripe for abuse? The combination of financial incentives, pressure to generate revenue, and a lack of transparency creates a system ripe for abuse. The power imbalance between DOT inspectors and truck drivers, coupled with the complexities of the legal system, leaves drivers vulnerable to exploitation. Minor infractions can be magnified into major violations, and the fear of hefty fines can discourage drivers from challenging unjust tickets. This potential for abuse erodes trust in the system and fuels resentment among truck drivers. It also raises broader questions about the role of government agencies and the potential for regulatory capture. When financial incentives become entangled with safety regulations, the lines become blurred, and the original intent can be easily lost in the pursuit of revenue. Where do we go from here? So how do we address this complex issue? First and foremost, we need greater transparency and accountability within the DOT. Clear guidelines for inspections, transparent data on fines collected and their allocation, and independent oversight mechanisms are crucial steps towards restoring trust in the system. Second, we need to reevaluate the role of fines and explore alternative enforcement mechanisms that prioritize safety without imposing undue financial burdens on truck drivers. Finally, we need to amplify the voices of truck drivers. Their experiences, perspectives, and concerns should be central to any reform efforts. Public advocacy, legislative action, and legal challenges are all essential tools for holding the DOT accountable and ensuring that safety, not revenue, remains the ultimate priority. The road ahead may be long and bumpy, but the pursuit of a fairer and more equitable system is a journey worth undertaking. Weighing the scales of justice. The story of DOT wait stations is a cautionary tale about the unintended consequences of good intentions. What began as a crucial safety measure has, in the eyes of many, evolved into a system where financial incentives overshadow the original goal of protecting drivers and the public. The scales of justice, it seems, have tipped in favor of revenue generation, leaving truck drivers feeling the weight of an unbalanced system. Until the DOT focuses more on safety rather than generating revenue, it will be viewed as a DEA agent with a lavish lifestyle. By amplifying the voices of truck drivers, demanding accountability from the DOT, and advocating for meaningful change, we can work towards a future where safety, not revenue, dictates the rules of the road. The journey may be long, but the destination is a system that truly serves the needs of all, not just the bottom line. If the DOT were truly focused on safety and not generating revenue, they would inspect general traffic just as much, not just pull them over for speeding, but personally inspect their vehicles as well.